Well, good afternoon and welcome to our workshop on APA format and citations. My name is Bernadette Presloyd and I'm the writing coordinator for the NAU Yuma Branch campus, and we offer our services here within the AWC Student Success Center Writing Center. The first thing to note about the APA format, the current issue is the 6th edition manual, and that's what all this information is based on. And when you typically write a paper for NAU classes, most of the professors require APA, and some AWC classes, it's important to note the organization of your paper. And you always begin with the title page. Right behind that is an abstract, and it's on a separate page by itself. Then the text, the body of your paper. The last thing will be your references page. And if you have extensive research, sometimes in the sciences, you might include table, figures, appendices. All those follow the references page and in this order. But typically for most of our classes, students will just do title page through references is sufficient. Another important thing is the spacing after punctuation marks. This is something new that came out of the 6th edition. It used to be one space after every sentence, and now it's 2 spaces. And it's very important when you're doing your paper to go back and check that after every sentence is 2 spaces, or if your professor doesn't care, 1, but it's very obvious if you do 1 space sometimes and 2 spaces sometimes, so really get in the habit of checking your paper. And once you start doing it, it just becomes a habit, and I found myself, I think I like it better. It's cleaner, it's, for readability I think it's much better, and I just got used to doing it that way. Otherwise you're just going to do 1 space after commas, colons, semicolons, periods that separate parts of the name in a reference citation, and then the periods after initials will be 1 space. So here's an example of a cover page, the title page of your paper. And you'll notice we do page numbering in the upper left-hand corner. This can be done by your computer. You can set that up very easily. At the very top on the left will be the running head, and you type the words exactly like this, running head, colon, and then a shortened title, all in capital letters. And then the only things on your paper, unless, always go by the professor's instructions because sometimes they tweak it for their own, but generally it's just the title of your paper, your name, and Northern Arizona University. And we don't need to put Yuma after it or Yuma Branch campus because all the degrees that are conferred come out of Flagstaff, the main university, so it's just Northern Arizona University or Arizona Western College. And notice it's kind of in the lower end of the upper third of your paper. It's not right in the center of your paper. It should be near the top, these 3 items. And then the running head, like I said, is just a shortened title. Sometimes if you've read some of the scientific articles, you know it's a very long, involved title, so you just want up to 50 letters for your shortened title. Now, on the second page, we have the running head, but we've deleted the words running head. The words running head in the colon, and then I have instructions on how to do that on another slide. But on page 2 is the abstract. And the abstract sits by itself on this page. So even if you have a lot of space underneath, you don't start your true paper until page 3. This stands off by itself. If for some reason you're doing a paper and you don't have to include an abstract, then your paper will begin on page 2. And notice every page is numbered, even that title page. We start with 1. So an abstract, if you notice, we don't indent the abstract. It's flush left, and it's basically a short summary of your paper. So it's typically between 150 to 250 words. And basically, you're just giving a summary of what your paper's about, your research, maybe a key finding, something that you found out. Now, students will often say, I don't know how to do an abstract, it's hard. So I'm going to show you the easiest place. You see them all the time, but we just don't think about it. But the other thing is you might want to do this after your paper's finished so that you've seen the whole layout from beginning to end, your conclusions, and you can take it from there. And so let me just get in here to, hopefully I can do this quickly. I'm going to use Klein Library example. And I'm just going to show databases. I'm going to go to EBSCOhost. That's the one we generally go to, but you can do any. They're great scientific journals that can be used. Sage, Wiley Online, PsycInfo. But to just show you, and I'm just going to, let's say I want to write about college success, you know, how that could be. And here's all the journals, and I'm going to pick this one, Adult Guidance for College, Rethinking. And so when you're doing your research, I'm sure most of all of you have come across these papers, you're looking for articles. Well, what do? I don't want to click onto the full text yet and read the whole paper because maybe it's something I don't even want. I kind of go from the subjects here. Yeah, it seems like maybe something, you know, that I might be interested in, but I can't tell. So I click on the title. And it takes me to the database page, and right here is an abstract. And probably most of us do this all the time, look at it, and it's like, oh, abstract. So I show students, you know, you look at it all the time and basically just start reading some of these, get a feel for what it is. So, you know, this article is grounded in research and it describes blah, 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 and it has some key findings on it. And I would just go through and look at several examples of abstracts. They're all started differently, but basically it's a summary of the information. And what this does is you want to create interest for the reader to read further and read your whole paper. So if you know, kind of make it dull and don't tell too much information, you know, if I picked it up, I might put it aside. Of course, your professor is forced to read it, but you want to make it that somebody, oh yeah, this sounds really good and I can use this in my paper and it's going to be excellent. And so tons of abstract examples here. This is Klein Library for NAU or also the Academic Library for AWC. So, what else? Okay.
So AWC students would have to go to their
academic, right, but they have EBSCOhost and a lot of the similar journals, yeah, and they would just log in that way. Mm-hmm. And I tried to get it right on the slide, but it wouldn't let me, so you have to kind of go out to the, I don't know, there's some way, I guess, to do it. So what's important also in your paper, besides those two things, are the page margins should be set 1 inch top, bottom, right and left. And again, you set that on your computer and it works for the whole paper. Type, styles, and fonts. Times New Roman 12 point is recommended for APA. Some professors will tell you Times New Roman or Arial. They're very similar, and I've experimented, and Arial takes up a little bitty more space. So if you need to fill that paper, you might go with Arial if you're allowed to, because it helps to take up. But again, this is just for ease of readability. When you get into some of those fancy styles, then it's hard to differentiate an A from an E, and you know, it wears on the eyes. Spacing, you're going to double space throughout your paper. Indentation, every paragraph is indented, except as we saw in the abstract. We're not going to indent that. Headings, if you have headings, it's important. Titling your headings and where they're placed, because for APA there's 5 different levels of headings. Quotations, how to cite quotations is important. Citation of sources, anything that you use for your paper should be cited in the paper and also on the references page. You have a references page. And we want to avoid plagiarism at all costs, whether intentional or unintentional. So one of the ways is to make sure that you cite your sources. Now, before we get into the actual citation, here is page 3 of our paper. I'm starting my paper on the similarity hypothesis. So up at the top, now I have this all set on the computer, just the running head comes out, the page number at the top, and then centered, the title. Notice nothing is bolded or italicized. We don't do fancy stuff, you know, unless it's required. So, and just centered in the middle, the title again. And if the short title and this title are the same, that's fine, but you put it right there. Generally for APA, you do not need a heading of introduction because it's assumed that you're going to introduce what your paper's about, not just talk, you know, bring in the conclusion or summary. So it's assumed that this is the introduction. And you'll notice we said we indent every paragraph, so there's your indentions. And
5 spaces?
yes, it's about 5 to 7, and again, you tab, it should be set on your computer. And double spaced throughout, and then there's some example citations and things for that. Now, for the running head format after the title page, you know, you have the words running head colon and the short title. To take it off on the second page, you know, on the computer it says delete first page or a different first page, but you can't just do that because you have to go through a little bit of a process. And here it is. We've experimented, and this seems like the clearest, cleanest way to tell you how to do it. And so basically, I would even just wait till the end of the paper and then go back and do all this. So levels of heading. This refers to whether you just have some basic main headings or you have up to the 5 levels that APA talks about. And you just kind of think of it as an outline that you have a main heading and then you have a subheading and then a sub-subheading. And most of the time for like psychological research, right, Raphael, you've done a lot of those papers, you might get into that, into those longer where you have multiple headings. But you have to set them up different ways. It's not just all in the middle. And so this is a good site, the Online Writing Lab, Al Purdue, actually shows you how to set that up, and then I also have this example here. So the title, this is the title of your paper, and remember that's at the beginning, and it's not bolded, it's not italicized, anything. Then I have my introductory paragraph or 2, or however long it is. Then I'm talking about an experiment, so then I talk about method. So this is the first level of heading. So it's centered, you can see it's bolded in the middle of the page. Now, under method, I have to talk about my sample population, how I chose, hi, welcome, come in and have a seat. How I chose the participants, you know, how I selected them. So it's still under method, so this is going to be a level 2, and so it's flush left, and notice capital and lowercase letters, no period or anything. And then I talk a lot of information under that. And then because it's tied in with method, I want to talk about the assessments and measures that I used. So again, it's still level 2, so it's going to be flush left, the same thing. And I talk about that, but now I'm going to talk about the Q-sort measures. So this is a level 3. It's associated with assessments, but yet I'm kind of off on a different tangent. So it's indented, and notice it's, except for the first word, all lowercase followed by a period. So this is just the title of the paper. It's not any level of heading. Level 1 heading, level 2, level 2, level 3, level 3, and goes on. And then at the end of the paper, I have results. Well, this is a whole new section, not related to this. It's a whole new, so it's level 1 centered. And then I want to talk about the outcome. So this is a level 2 and then level 3. And the little dot things are, the bullet points are off, but notice it's indented. It's just like this. So level 1, level 2, level 3, level 3. 5 levels, but I wasn't going to cram them all on the slide. So like I said, Al Purdue, you can look at the samples there. And I will be, as you sign in, if you have your AWC or NAU email, I will send you the PowerPoint, and then you can click right onto the links. I'm sorry, I usually say that at the beginning and I forgot. So why to cite? Because most of the time we're doing a lot of reading of what other people wrote, so it's not our own words, so we must give credit. Otherwise, we can be accused of plagiarism. So you never even want to, oh, I just forgot to do that, or I forgot to write down what website, I'll just make something up, or I'll just leave it out. Trust me, the professors, you know, after seeing so many papers can probably figure that. And so we want to be good researchers and writers, especially if we want to go on to masters and maybe doctorates. So you want to get in the habit of making those citations. And for APA, if you cite something in the body and the text of your paper, it has to be on your references list. And if it's on your references list, then you need to cite somehow in your paper. So references list is different than like a bibliography of everything that you looked at. If you weren't familiar with the term, you're doing something in a scientific paper and you looked up Wikipedia to get some ideas for your own background, that's okay. You don't have to cite it anywhere if it's for your own background information. But then if you get a journal article and you summarize some information in your own words, then you need to put that journal article in your references list. And then also in your paper, weave it in there. Because generally, most of the time, our papers are everything that we read. We summarize it, we think about it, and we might use it for our own experiment or whatever. But so we need to put it inside the paper and give that credit. And of course, if it's a quotation, for sure, you have to cite that. So again, you're going to put the citation in the reference list. After paraphrase, which is just summarizing in your own words, anytime you have more than 3 or more words connected, pulled right out exactly from something you read, you need to put quotation marks and then use a page for that. That's more of a direct quote. But when you're summarizing on your own, that's okay, but you still have to give the author and the year of whatever you were summarizing. For a direct quotation, it's author, year, and page number. So for APA citation, if you just remember author, year, page. Most of the time it's author and year. If it's a direct quote, page number. So author, year, page, and that's the order that it would be in. So to avoid plagiarism, I say think back of, we learned this for, good journalists, is, who said what, when, where, and why. So who said it, the author, what, whatever you summarized or the direct quote, when is the date, and then where in your reference list, you're going to tell where was it in this journal, in this book, on that website. So if you get in the habit of putting that down as you're taking your notes, and then if you use it in your paper, you have all that information. So here's some examples, and I've also given you a paper that has some examples for books. The first, this would be on your references page, and we just use the author's last name and the first initial, the initial of the first name if there's a second name, followed by the year in parentheses. The title of the book is italicized, and the first word is capitalized, followed by a period, and then you always put city, state. Some students forget and put a city or a state, needs to be both, city, comma, abbreviation for the state, colon, and then the publisher and period. Now, the only time this would change for other capital letters, if I had the book like The Life and Times of George Washington, if it's a proper noun, proper name, something specific, name of a state, then you would capitalize that, but otherwise it's all lowercase. In the body of your paper, remember it's author, year, but maybe I used a quote, so it's author, year, page number, and just P period for the page number. Here's another example of a book. Sometimes we have different editions, like the APA already is the 6th edition. And so following the title, in parentheses, you're going to put the 2nd, 3rd, 4th edition. Use your numbers and an ED period for edition, and close that in parentheses. And notice it is not italicized. So you kind of set it off because it's not really part of the title, but it's just the edition. So this is italicized, the title, and this is not, period. And again, city, state, publisher. And in text, again, I'm just going to do author's year and page number for a quote, or just author and year at the end. And some students say, you know, well, why is that at the beginning? They get used to putting at the end of something they summarize, but you don't always have to, and you want to make your paper kind of varied, so you can start off this way. So if you start off your sentence with the authors, then you just put the year in parentheses, like that. This is an example for a journal article. Again, this top one, this would be in your reference list. And you have the authors followed by the year. This time, the title of the journal article is not italicized, and only the first word is capitalized. Again, unless it's a proper name, proper noun. But for the title of the article, or even of a book, if it has a colon, always the first word after the colon will be capitalized. But everything else, again, goes back to lowercase. Period. Now this time, the title of the journal itself is italicized and capitalized, just however it is, you know, printed on the journal, followed by a comma, and then this is volume and issue number. Notice the volume continues with the italicized, but in the parentheses, again, just like 3rd edition, it's going to be standard case, not italicized, within parentheses, comma, and then your page numbers. And you're not going to put a P or PP period, just 119-134, whatever it is. It's assumed that that's the page numbers that follows that. And if it has a DOI number, which we'll talk about what that is and how to find it in a couple of more slides. And then again in text, author, year, page number, if it's a quote. So sometimes we get a web page that has no author. So in that case, the title of the article goes into the first slot. And again, this is a great website, frequently asked questions, you can find information. So here's your example. There was no author, so here's the title, period, and there's the year, and then I'm just going to put retrieved from this site. Now, within the body of my paper, what do? Well, I use double quotation marks around the title, but I can abbreviate it, like the first 3 words or 4, so that when I look back on the reference list, I can find out exactly where it's from, what website. So if I'm talking about this in the body of my paper, in parentheses, I'm going to put quotation marks, the first few words, comma, quotation mark, and the year, parentheses. And again, this is information taken from the manual. So, no page number. A lot of times the electronic sources do not provide page numbers. So you're going to use the abbreviation PARA, period, for paragraph. So you just kind of look through the information, and usually it's blocked off in chunks, so you kind of count to yourself, well, I'd call this paragraph 1, 2, 3, okay, it's 4. And again, whoops, what happened? There. My new clicker got away from me. So I have the author, and I have the year, and there was no page number, and I do have a specific quote, direct quote. So in parentheses, it's PARA, period, 4, and close the parentheses. Instead of, it would typically be P period 4, page 4. And again, if you want to read more information, that's where that's from. So citing an entire website, but not just a specific document. Sometimes you're asked in classes to evaluate certain websites, so you're going to put that in your paper. You just go ahead in parentheses and put the entire website URL address right there for that. And especially for if you're submitting online, I like to leave it that it's, what do you call it, active link, so that the professor can hit it and actually go to it to see, hyperlink, yeah, thank you, to see what it is that you're talking about. Makes it easier, so. And now you have this paper, How to Find Something on a Website When Information is Missing, I think. Did I give it, Raphael? No, I didn't. Oh, yeah, it is. It's on the back of something.
Tables.
Oh, there it is. Yeah, the table. Okay, so, and I give you the link of where it was found, but it's if the author is missing. Remember we said then the title goes. What if there's no date? And it tells you how to use N period, D period for no date. So it's kind of a handy little chart to keep in your notebook and refer to, because sometimes some of that information is missing. Whoops. So next is the ampersand, since we're talking about references and citations. This little symbol, the correct name is ampersand, and we use it with more than one author when it's in parentheses. So if you're citing this at the end of your paragraph, Ames and White, you're going to use the ampersand symbol, always in the reference list, as it gets long enough without spelling out the word, but we're going to use the ampersand also to differentiate that it's not part of a name. But if you're beginning, like we saw that example where we started with the author's names, or like here according to Ames and White, because it is part of a sentence and we use words for in our sentences, you're going to spell out the word AND since it's part of the sentence. But anytime it's in parentheses or it's in your reference list, go ahead and use the ampersand. The other is et al. And this is people, will put the period after the T or capitalize the A and the E. This is the correct way. It's it's ET space AL period. And it's Latin for and others. So this is when you have more than two authors. So in your paper, if you have more than two authors, you're going to list all of them the first time. So maybe on page 1 you talk about Castaneda, Quick, and Linney. Then on page 3 you refer to their book again. Now you can do it Castaneda et al. But the first time you have to list all of them, unless there's a bazillion, which I'll show you the slide on that. There's different rules for everything. But for the majority of them, 3, 4, 5, go ahead and list them the very first time, and then you use the et al. You don't start off with the et al. You can still use it. It doesn't have to be in parentheses. So here's an example according to the study. The second time I talk about Castaneda, I just write it this way, and again in parentheses, I'm just putting the 2009. So down here I put it, don't italicize, don't bold. It looks just like that. If it's in parentheses and then you have the year, then you still put your comma, but I still have the period that goes with the AL. So here's the rule for if you have 6 or more. So if you have 6 or more authors, and a lot of times in those scientific journals, then the very first time and every time after that you can use et al. If it's 6 or more. In the reference list, however, you're going to give the surnames and initials for up to and including 7 authors. And then when there are 8 or more, you include the first 6 names and then insert the 3 ellipsis points right here, 1, 2, 3. Add the last author's name, and that's all. So if you have like 8, 9, 10, 15, whatever. So, and what I tell students is try to find articles that only have up to 5 authors. Yeah, don't beat yourself up, but anyway. But here's what you do if you do have more than 1 or 2 or 6, whatever. So journal articles, we need to include the DOI, Digital Object Identifier. Are you all familiar with that? Ever heard of it before? No? Okay. Well, we're going to see an example of that too. But all the DOI numbers begin with a 10 and then have a prefix, a suffix, it has the slash. This came about because a lot of times you would look on the internet for a source and it disappeared. So this is a way, most of the journal articles have this number that you can actually, click on, put in that number and find that journal article that's still in existence. So it makes it a little easier. Okay, and so it's typically on the first page of your journal article near the copyright notice. So it can also be found on the database landing page for the article. And I'm going to show you an example in a minute. And this would be when I took you to Klein Library to see the abstract. It's right on there. And so when you use the DOI, you don't have to put, retrieved a certain date from such and such place because you have the DOI, because it can be located. So here's an example from EBSCOhost. So again, before I even click in here to see if it's going to be interesting or useful to me, it tells me here's the title of the article, here's the authors, here's the month and the year, the volume, the issue number, the page numbers, and here's the DOI. And when you cite it in your references, it's lowercase DOI, but they always use the capitals just to offset again that you can find it. But you'll see it a lot of times written with the 3 capital letters, but you do lowercase in your references page. But so see, it's right here, so you know that you have it. And then here's the information, and so I'm going to click here to read my abstract to see if I want to really use that. And I won't put it on now, but this is a good video. apastyle.org is an excellent website, and it's like 3 minutes, and it shows you the examples and how to find a DOI. So again, when I send this to you, if you want to look at it, it's a good source. So references are all double spaced with the hanging indent, and we saw that. The first line of it is flush left, and then it's indented. And again, you can set that up with your computer. Don't sit there and tab over. It gets all messed up. And if you don't know how to do that, ask one of us or any tutor here. You just set it up to be hanging indent, and it'll format for you all of it. You're going to list all the references alphabetically by the author's last name. However, sometimes, remember we had that website that there was no author and it was new something, that would still be alphabetical order. So that would be, where N would be in the alphabet in your references. So it's all alphabetical. Use the DOI, and if it does not have one, then you can use the URL or whatever you need to identify so somebody can find that. You're going to arrange by the last names, different authors. So, Fisher comes, of course, before Foreman. But maybe Foreman wrote 2 books, and or 2 articles, and I want to use both of them. In this case, I'm going to list his or her earlier work first. So if it's the same author, you put the earlier work first. Now, here's the example from our little mini page on references. Again, notice it's not bolded, italicized, nothing, just plain references, not references page, not works cited, because that's MLA, because students will put that in there. And again, we number everything starting with the title, page 1, so now we're on page 6 if it's a short paper. And here's our alphabetical order. So here's Cleary, and she wrote this article on her own, 208, and then she, in 209, added these other authors. Here's the DOI. Again, it's lowercase, and put everything on there if it ends with a letter. And remember, we said, like for books, it's always city, state, and always a period after the publisher. for URLs and the DOIs, you don't put any period. You just end it with the X or whatever is at the end of it. So the period only goes after the, actually the publisher here, publishing company. And this I wanted to show you, Son of Citation Machine. I found this because students, well now, you know, with all our different courses, sometimes people have, they want to reference something from the Bible, or they can use a blog, or there's so many different things that we can do that it's hard to figure how to set up that reference or citation, because remember, this is basically published for research scholarly articles. So most of the time you're not going to use websites, blogs, or things for that nature. So if you go to this Citation Machine on this page, and so you can use it for MLA too, but we want APA, so I click APA format, submit. Always need my glasses. And look here on the left. So here, if I want to know how to do an encyclopedia, or what I have is an encyclopedia, or if it's a web page, online newspaper article, let's click on that one. It has right here. And so I fill in all the information that I have that I can, and then I hit make a citation, and it will come up down here and show me actually how to do the reference and then the in-text. But of course I didn't put anything, so but it's really a handy tool, and always double check it, but from what I've seen so far it comes out correct format. But see the different things: web-based media, government document online, a film, you know, so many things we can use now in our papers, and the APA manual will not tell you how to do that. So I think this is great, Son of Citation Machine, so I have it up there on my navigation bar thing there. So, oh, okay. Who did that? I did. Okay. Where am I? Okay, that's where I am. I did that, I did, okay. All right, and so again, the citation, make sure it's APA style. The other thing is in like Klein Library or any of them, if you email or print off articles and it says, you know, you can have it formatted for your citation for APA, always double check it, because generally they'll have everything capitalized in the title of a book, and that's not correct. So no matter what they do, you know, you can copy and paste it, put it on your references page, but then double check that it is correct. And then of course you always want your font and size to be the same. So just a quick little, how are we doing on time? Is it, I have a captive audience, I should just lock the door, but. Oh, okay. So in-text citation practice, so let's just do a little practice here. The next slide is going to be a series of just a couple little sentences, and this is the author. We don't have to remember all this, but we have an author, we have a title, we have a year, and a page number. So remember, if I'm just summarizing in my own words, what am I going to put? Author, year. And if it's a direct quote, author, page number, right. Or PARA, period, and a paragraph number if it's electronic. Okay, so let's look at this first one here. So a recent study found that drivers using cell phones were up to 4 times more likely to have accidents than those not using these devices. I'm trying to tell that to the young people, yeah. Just kidding. But close your ears, young people. Idea. But anyway, so you notice there's no quotation marks, so I read this and I'm going to use it in my paper. So at the end, in parentheses, I'm going to put the last name. Right, so it would be best off and, ooh, good memory, I forgot that. Okay, right. So best off, comma, 2004. Now this one, a recent study concluded that using a cellular telephone increased the risk of having a motor vehicle collision as much as 4 times for the same drivers when they were not using their cellular telephones. End quote. Young people. What goes here? Author, comma, year, comma, and page 54, page number, right? Because this is a direct quote, so, or para. Well, first of all, this one, what would go here? This is, I'm just using my own words, right? The year. So here, it's always author year, so here's the year. And I'm writing some information. Oh, then I go into my quote. So I need to put the page number. I mean, typically we do it this way. We put all 3 at the end. But you have to have that page number, and this would be okay. But most of the time we do it this way and this way. But like I was saying before, you want to mix it up sometimes and start off with his name, or even saying the author's further study, blah, 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 and you could put it at the end instead of always beginning with their name or just ending with information.
So it's still acceptable if you ended up putting the
Yes.
page number instead?
Yes,
Okay, with the year.
because you always, it's author, year, and page number, just to make sure you have it in there. So those are just some quick examples. So where to get help? I think I'll show you right now after this. apastyle.org is excellent, and I'll show you what all is on there. Online Writing Lab Purdue, probably most of us are familiar. Almost every college and university refers to this. Crossref.org, that's a place that you could look for, they can find for you a DOI number if it doesn't have it. The Klein Library or the academic library here at AWC. If you're an NAU UMA student, we also have our UMA Writing Center on the Blackboard course list, and all our information is up there. And then this is my information. My office is right around the corner in this building. So let me show you apastyle.org because for tricky or specific questions, sometimes I think it's even better than Purdue, because there are people that actually sit around wanting to answer your questions. Go figure about APA style. So let's see. Learning APA. Okay, so frequently asked questions. So you could go right here. There's some general questions, maybe. And again, it'll tell you how to do a newspaper article. You can click on there, and usually they keep updating that. Here's information about the punctuation, grammar. You know, if your professor says, oh, you're using too many dangling modifiers. Okay, I can look it up there, you know. Formatting, running head. I don't know if they've changed that. It didn't work before what they had, because they just said click different first page. But then also, the basics of APA style, so that's quick little, also gives you quick little tips. It runs you through, you know, the basics of it, kind of like what I did. How do you reference a web page that lists no author? And so that's what I already gave you that information. So how to cite, where am I going here? Here I am. Okay, so this right here, did I lose it? Where's the blog? I thought I saw it on here. Well, if I go to this, AP style help, go to the help. Okay, there's the tutorial. Okay, I just go to the APA style help. Here's the APA style blog. Here's the APA style experts. And let me tell you, if you just, mail client is not, okay. Well, anyway, on your own computer, if you just click that, it'll take you to an email. And within less than 8 hours, they will answer me. I mean, there are people just sitting there wanting to help you with APA, I guess, and hopefully they get paid a lot. But anyway, because like I say, students will come in and they don't know how to cite something, and it's not a journal or a book or anything. But this blog is excellent, and this is where I got that how to cite something that's missing, like the author. And over here, you can even look at the different categories, but they update and keep this up. When to use author initials for text citations, you know, if there is, use a timestamp. I mean, just all kinds of things. So you can just click in here, search, and put what it is you're looking for, and 9 times out of 10, they have a blog about it. So I really think this is because this actually comes from, see up here, American Psychological Association, from this book, whereas Purdue is, you know, from the university, and their information is correct and based on this. But sometimes for those things that we're just not sure, this is better because, like I say, now with the internet and being able to use all kinds of electronic sources, that's not addressed in here, because this is really for people that want to publish their articles in journals, or, you know, write a book or something. And so most of the time they're not going to use websites or even Wikipedia, which we shouldn't anyway, but something like that. So.
That's what I've discovered, that many of the students have websites for their sources.
Yes.
And it's very hard to figure out how they fit in to that. So.
Right. And so the only time I did when I took a course on college, investigating other colleges that had mentor and university student peer coaches and mentors, we had to investigate sites, and so had the actual site in there so that the information that I told and the professor could look at it. But most of the time, you know, you're not. But if your professor says to use sites, but most of the time it's going to be journal articles and even books. And that, you know, I tell the students, it doesn't mean you're reading the book cover to cover. You know, look at the pertinent information, and you're going to cite, you know, list that book as a reference, but you're going to cite the pages. And I don't know, but nobody likes to pick up physical books anymore, so I don't know. But I do. I can't get into the Kindle or anything like that. I want to turn the page. So, but anyway, this is an excellent site for more specific questions, along with, again, like I say, Purdue Online Writing Lab, and they have for APA, MLA, and we even go to this sometimes. There's Chicago Turabian, and I don't know, there's like 7 to 10 different styles. Sometimes a professor will ask for, and we have to look here to.
Why did they do that? Why did they go from just one generic type of reference to now you got all these different?
Well, everybody wants to put their own spin on it, I guess, and make their money. I don't know, but
It just makes it more confusing.
I know. I know. And usually MLA for English and humanities and all, but most of NAU uses APA. Sometimes you'll get professors that say they don't care as long as it's consistent and correct, because Dr. Farrell from NAU, I know he tells his students you can use MLA, APA, just, you know, that it's consistent one or the other and correct. That's basically it. So, any questions? Anything you want me to go back to? Any of these slides? So you understand the organization of your manuscript, and I'm sorry you came in late, so I went over about the abstract. Are you AWC or NAU student? Okay. Have you done a lot of papers so far, research? Oh, okay.
I have read about, for instance, like the title page,
Uh-huh.
what it needs, and also the abstract, all the way to the method, discussion, and results and all.
Right, okay.
But I wanted to come here to like even learn further
Uh-huh.
from the stuff that I read.
Right, okay. The citations are very important, and I have this here. If you go in and look for an article, and before you look at the entire article, usually there, if you just click the title of it like you would here, but it won't let me go straight to Klein, it brings up an abstract, because a lot of students say, I don't know how to do an abstract, but we look at them all the time before we decide if we're going to choose that article. So it's basically just a summary, 150 to 250 words, and if you look at a lot of that, a lot of the different abstracts, it kind of helps you to form one for yourself. And a lot of the time, it makes sense to do that last when your paper's finished, so then you can make a succinct little paragraph about what your paper's about. Page numbers.
Like a summary, maybe?
Yeah, it's basically, yes, a summary. And if you've done research, you might put, maybe a finding, or maybe allude to a couple of the results. So people want to read further, well, how did you accomplish that? So, but like I say, I'm going to send you and here's how to correct the running head format, because you take off the 2 words after the first page. And then you can just click the links, and if you don't want the PowerPoint, you can just delete it. But rather than print it off, I like to do it this way, because I have so much there that you can click onto. And then yes.
For instance, we have like tables and figures or tables.
Uh-huh.
One, that's always in a different page, right?
Yes, and that's up here, the organization right here. This is how it should be. The title page is always first. Second is your abstract. Sometimes you don't have to do an abstract. That's okay, then don't have that page. Text, that's your whole body of your paper, 5 pages, 10, whatever. References is always the last page, and it's just titled references. But then, yes, if you had any tables, that goes directly after references. If you have any figures, that goes after the table. And appendix or appendices go after that. Right, so this is the correct order of those things. And for our typical papers that we do, it's just title, abstract, text, and then the references most of the time. Good question. Anything else? Are we pretty clear how to do the citations? So.
I need also help, like whenever you have a chance, how to do that in my computer, the hanging indentation.
Yes, I can show you that now.
Oh.
Sure. Okay. Let's.
Also how to go to do the headers and footers for the running head? Is that correct?
Yes, well, okay. First of all, when you're typing here and you go to the paragraph, let me go back here. So you type something in your paper and see at the top the paragraph here. And this is where you can set your line spacing, right? Double, single, and all that. Right here in the middle where it has indentation, it's set at none, nothing special, but if I click it, it has first line and then it has hanging. And if I set it to the hanging indent, okay, then when I start typing here, it'll automatically, format into the hanging indent. So I'm not a quick typer, but let me see. Whoops. What happened? Ah. Oh, doesn't like my name, fine. 2013. And citation, oops, spelled citation wrong, citation. Okay, that's the name of my book. And notice the first word is capitalized, and of course Northern Arizona University is proper name. And so then we're going to do AWC Publishing. They're going to publish my work. So then I just have to go in. I should have done it then, which I didn't. But everything is double spaced even on your references page. But see how it automatically formatted for me. So up here, where you have, you know, flush left, middle, and all that, where it says paragraph, and that little box, if you just hit it, and right here where it says special, normally it's set at none, you know, nothing special, but hanging. You just click that, click OK, and then down here you can make sure you have your double space, and it'll do the whole page for you. Okay. And then, don't save, to change the second page of the running head, I always have to, I have the directions taped up on my desk, how to do that, but I give you, where is it? Nope, manuscript. Where did I do that? Slideshow. Oh, there it is. Okay, right here. Go to insert header, make sure you're in Times New Roman, different first page. Okay, and then this is the way to change it so that the words running head colon are deleted except for the very first page. And just kind of follow this. And again, you'll get the, so what it's saying is here's insert. See again here on your toolbar. And you're going to click into header format. And it says insert, then header, insert.
Yeah, it's different for PowerPoint.
Oh, right, okay. Yeah, I'm in the wrong thing, okay. But anyway, just follow those and it should be okay. And most of the time I wait till after, you know, I'm almost after several pages of my paper and then format it, and then it just continues on the way.